Imagine this. Right now, somewhere in this exact instant, a clock is ticking in Tokyo. A clock is ticking in New York. A clock is ticking on the International Space Station, 300 miles above your head. We assume all of them agree. We assume now is one single moment shared by everyone everywhere. We are wrong. Does time really exist? The greatest illusion in the universe? Let's start with something you've never actually questioned. Not what time is it? That's easy. The question is, what is time? Not the number on your screen, not the calendar on your wall. The thing itself. Most people can't answer that. And here's the uncomfortable truth. For most of human history, neither could science. 10,000 years ago, there were no clocks, no calendars, no app buzzing on your wrist. There was only the sun, rising and falling, shadows lengthening and shrinking, stars wheeling slowly overhead, night after night. From those patterns, ancient civilizations built the first timekeeping systems in history. Egyptian shadow clocks, Babylonian star charts, calendars tied to harvests, floods, and festivals. But notice something important here. They weren't measuring time itself, they were measuring change, the movement of the sun, the cycle of seasons, and calling that time. That distinction matters more than you think. Because measuring something and understanding it are two very different things. Today, we've taken that ancient impulse to an extreme. Atomic clocks now measure time so precisely they wouldn't lose a single second in millions of years. And yet, ask the scientists who built those clocks what time actually is, and the room goes quiet. For centuries, one assumption held firm: time ticks the same everywhere for everyone. A universal clock running in the background of reality. Then, in the early 1900s, that assumption shattered. A new understanding of physics revealed something almost impossible to believe. Time is not the same for everyone. It bends, it stretches, it slows down. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station actually age slightly slower than people on Earth. Not by minutes, not by hours, by fractions of a second. But it's real, measured, confirmed. Even the GPS in your phone has to correct for this every single day. Satellites orbiting Earth experience time differently than we do down here. Without factoring that in, your GPS would drift miles off course within hours. Time isn't a fixed backdrop to the universe. It's flexible. It bends around speed. It bends around gravity. It bends around you. Here's the next question. If the laws of physics work the same forward and backward, why does time only move in one direction? Drop a glass. It shatters into 100 pieces. Now ask yourself, have you ever once in your life seen those pieces leap backward off the floor and reassemble into a glass? Of course not. But nothing in the basic equations of physics actually forbids it. Scientists call this puzzle the arrow of time, and the best explanation we have involves something called entropy, a measure of disorder that almost always increases, never decreases as time moves forward. A clean room slowly becomes messy on its own. It never cleans itself. Not because physics demands only one direction, but because there are staggeringly more ways for things to be messy than tidy. So maybe time doesn't flow at all. Maybe what we are really watching is the universe sliding, slowly and irreversibly, from order into chaos. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Does the present moment actually exist? You assume there's a single now, one shared instant, happening everywhere at once. But some interpretations of modern physics suggest something radically different. That the past, the present, and the future might all exist together, permanently, like frames on a strip of film, and that the feeling of a moving now is something your mind creates, not something the universe actually has. This isn't proven fact. It's one serious interpretation among several, and physicists still argue fiercely about what it truly means. But sit with it for a second. If yesterday and tomorrow are just as real as this exact instant, what does that say about the life you think you are living moment by moment? Despite everything modern science has uncovered, one problem remains unsolved. We have two of the most successful theories ever created. General relativity, which governs planets, stars, and galaxies. Quantum physics, which governs atoms and particles. Both are proven correct again and again in their own domains. But they describe time in ways that clash violently when you try to combine them. Physicists have spent decades hunting for a deeper theory, one that could unite these two views and finally reveal what time actually is at the most fundamental level. That theory still doesn't exist. Which brings us to the boldest idea in this entire documentary. What if time isn't fundamental at all? A growing number of physicists suggest time might not be a basic building block of the universe, but something that emerges. The way temperature emerges from countless tiny particles bouncing around without being fundamental on its own. Some approaches to quantum gravity go even further, hinting that at the deepest level of reality, the core equations of the universe contain no variable for time at all. This remains a hypothesis. Serious, actively researched, hotly debated, but not yet proven. Still, even as a possibility, it's enough to change how you think about the most familiar experience of your entire life. So, after all of this, where does that leave us? We can measure time down to a fraction of a second. We know it bends near gravity and speed. We understand, at least partly, why it only seems to move forward. And we're beginning to question whether now is even a real universal thing at all. But the deepest question of all, what time actually is, remains unanswered. Remember that clock ticking in Tokyo, in New York, on the space station above your head? Right at the start of this video, every one of those numbers is real, precise, useful. But what they are actually measuring may be one of the last great mysteries the universe still refuses to hand over. Science has carried us further than any civilization in history in understanding time. And yet, in some strange way, we're still standing exactly where the earliest humans once stood, watching the sun rise and fall, wondering what it all really means. If we can measure time down to a billionth of a second, but still can't say what it truly is, how well do we really understand the world we live in? If this video made you question something you've never questioned before, that's exactly what Secret Horizon is built for. We dig into the biggest mysteries in science, history, and the human mind, and we lay them out for you, honestly, without exaggeration. Subscribe so you don't miss what we uncover next. And if there's a mystery you want us to explore, drop it in the comments below. We read every single one. This documentary explores scientific theories, research, and philosophical ideas about the nature of time. It is intended for educational purposes and presents current scientific understanding while distinguishing established evidence from ongoing hypotheses. Questions about time, creation, and existence are also addressed by many religious and philosophical traditions. We respect all religions and belief systems, and this documentary does not seek to challenge or promote any particular worldview. Our goal is to explore what modern science currently knows and what it has yet to discover.